Yes. Last night, the Chattanooga Police Department was called to a home on Shawnee Trail on a report of a disorder with a weapon. The following are the preliminary facts that we have in the investigation so far. The Hamilton County 911 dispatch received a call for a disorder with a weapon involved. It also reported to CPD officers that one shot was fired prior to our arrival. Once CPD officers arrived on scene, they encountered two off-duty Chattanooga Police Department officers that had left the residence where the disorder had occurred, and other CPD officers encountered an armed suspect outside that residence. During that encounter, unfortunately, CPD officers were forced to shoot the armed suspect. CPD officers began to administer medical aid immediately to that individual while awaiting the arrival of an ambulance. That individual was transported by Hamilton County EMS, where he succumbed to his injuries at a local hospital. It was determined at that point, after the incident had settled, that the suspect was a Hamilton County Sheriff's Office employee. After consultation and advisement with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office as well as the Hamilton County District Attorney's Office, the determination and the request was made from General Pinkston for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation to become the lead agency in this investigation. Those are the facts as we have them at this point.
Can you elaborate more on the disorder call? And how did you know that there were shots fired prior to arriving?
We'd received information from dispatch from individuals calling in as to the actual origination of where those came from, whether it was the officers at the residence or neighbors is still being determined through the investigation.
The two CPD off-duty officers that left the residence, how did they identify themselves as off-duty officers? How did you all identify them? Did you just know them? And what was the significance of them leaving?
They had called into 911 actually reporting part of the disorder and also identifying themselves.
So they were on the scene when the disorder was happening, or?
That's still being investigated. We still have not only the interviews of those two officers, but all of our responding officers that came into the scene after that. So as the TBI works through those interviews, as well as the crime scene unit, which is currently processing the scene, more of that information will become clear.
We've heard reports that this was some sort of party, birthday party or something. Do you know, can you confirm if this was a gathering of off-duty officers?
It looked like some officers were gathered together, but the purpose of why they were together or for what intent, we don't know. We don't know that yet.
Can you speak to what the HCSO employee's role was there and how long it's been a part of it?
I do not have any of his employee information.
In what capacity was that sheriff's officer, or was it an officer, or are we just saying an employee of the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office right now?
At this point, we know him to be an employee. As what his actual role was within that organization, I do not know that.
So we can't say whether or not it was a deputy?
No, I cannot. Not at this point.
Have you identified, or can you release what kind of weapon was involved? What the suspect had?
Not at this point. The actual scene, myself and several other members of the investigative and command staff went out to the scene last night. The actual location of the scene was obviously not within sight, and it was still being safeguarded so we could process it. So as all that scene is processed, not only with the TBI, more than information should be forthcoming.
It looks like it was a large scene. What was blocked, based upon what was blocked off, 4 or 5 houses and 2 roads. Is that because the scene itself is that large, or is it just to give you guys room?
For room, but also when you're talking about that many individuals coming in to respond, it's where our vehicles may have been parked. Where did officers move in from on foot in order to get in there? So in order to safeguard the scene, you can always make one large and then shrink it down when you figure out what it looks like. But if you make it too small, you have the possibility that you could lose evidence if you haven't captured it to begin with.
But for the most part, right now, it's just being investigated at that one house.
Correct.
Do we know if the suspect was brandishing a service weapon? Was it a weapon that they used while on patrol?
I could not answer that. I'm unclear on what weapon he was possibly carrying.
Do we know if alcohol was involved at this incident?
Again, do not know. I have not spoken directly with the individuals that were all at the house that night.
Last question.
The TBI is taking over the investigation. What role are you going to have with them?
Any supporting that we can for them, as well as with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, any support that we can give them, not only through interviews, but also the processing of the scene itself.